when I said neither do you as far as black women not putting in the work to build black men, one of the stereotypes that comes with black women is that they're difficult. And I think I talked about this in another video. Is that they're confrontational, is that they're more aggressive in their anger, in their disappointment with, and in their emotional game playing with men than other nationalities. Blacks and Latinas than other nationalities. Most, whereas like blacks and Latinas or other nationalities are passive aggressive, blacks and Latinas are aggressive. We don't need to be confronted with that on a regular basis all the time. And again, that's changing. See, a lot of the stuff that people are talking about, a lot of the stuff that social justice warriors are talking about, she's not a social justice warrior, she's a YouTube vlogger, just like me. But one of the things she's talking about, one of the perceptions that she has, comes from slightly old thinking. Comes from thinking that's a bit out of date. Because the culture's changing, because people are changing. Black women, for a while, were pretty much in a couple of different categories you could put them in. People, in general, I think. Black people, black women, white women, were in a few different categories that you could fairly accurately identify. If now, with the world being as global as it is, with the internet being so accessible, with people developing their own cultures and building together their own amalgam of culture and identifying themselves the way they want to identify themselves, being more comfortable in their own skin, in their own shells, all that stuff, even in the black community, although we're a little slow on the draw there, with allowing people to be comfortable and being comfortable within ourselves. We still want to hang on to some of the old traditions. That's changing. Even with us hanging on, to that everlasting tradition of whatever the hell it is, fill in the blank, it's still changing. Probably more than half of the black women I've dated, first of all, probably because I'm not attracted to ghetto black chicks. I'm just not. Just the attitude, again, the aggressiveness. I'm just not attracted to that personality. And I don't think they're typically attracted to me. But I think the black women that I've been with have not been like that. They've been a lot like me, as a matter of fact. Most of them. I think a couple of them were a little bit more towards the white culture than even I am. But they're a lot like me, where they could get ghetto if they wanted to, or if they had to, or whatever, because they're still in their roots. Like, they still have mamas and grandmamas that are probably in the hood somewhere. Like, they just still probably went over to somebody's house for some collard greens and cornbread and all that other shit. But at the same time, they realized that they wanted to be identified as themselves. And so they started developing their own sense of self and sense of style and sense of music and sense of humor, and all they started developing themselves, as opposed to clinging to what they were supposed to develop themselves as. So the idea that black women don't put in the work, and that's the note I put down, black women don't put in the work to build black men, is probably actually more geared towards the more ghetto black women. The black women who still want to hang on to that side of the tradition, which isn't even the best side of the tradition to hang on to. Women like the one in the video. Judging from just this video, I've never seen her other videos. I don't know anything about her. I don't know her personally. But this video is fairly confrontational, and I would think that from my experiences and from having women like that in my family and being around them and friends of people and all this other stuff, like that's probably something like what you might get at the house. And that's not something that would build me up as a man, black or otherwise. Men kind of need that. Men kind of need to be built a little bit. We have a societal idea that everything a man has to do, he has to do for himself. He has to build himself up by the bootstraps and yada yada yada. At some point, most of us need some kind of break, some kind of hand. It's probably the 80s and 90s, probably, where that wasn't a thing. I don't know that black women were really were really. I don't know. Comment below. Let me know. Share, like it, comment, and argue with me on this. Let me know, because I was born in the mid '80s. So what the fuck do I know about that? But I'm judging by what I've seen, the stories I've heard from the people I know, whether they're family, friends of family of friends, and all that other stuff, where they were married, they weren't married, happy, they weren't happy. There is something to be said for the idea that black women sometimes aren't as sweet as other nationalities. Sometimes aren't as open, sometimes aren't as soft as other. They aren't as soft as other nationalities, and especially and like with black guys, like we're supposed to walk around all hard and shit all the fucking time. Sometimes we want that juxtaposition. We want a chick who's our polar opposite, who's soft and demure, and like she doesn't have to be a fucking pushover, but is inviting and is warm. You know what I mean? And isn't confrontational and aggressive and like she said in the video, sometimes bitter and all other shit. Like if you are gonna go down that monogamy road, you don't want to come home to you dealt with all. Fucking, I gotta stop doing that. You've dealt with confrontational shit all day long. Boss, traffic, maybe getting pulled over by a cop and thinking you might be the next fucking Eric Garner. Who the fuck knows? But the last thing you want when you come into the house is, nigga, you still didn't pick up your fucking son. Can you give me a second to come back to the house and decompress before you just start spouting off your shit to me, please? And I think women of other nationalities have gotten that faster and probably in more numbers than black women have. But that's not to say that black women haven't understood that. That's not to say that black women aren't making an effort. I think the percentage of women that this particular, I gotta wrap this shit up. I think the percentage of women that this particular vlogger is in, who are like, black men are abandoning us and yada yada, and part of it is, and she said this too, was that she was talking about the guys who were still around and still fucking around with black women, and some of them ain't no good and all other shit. Like, first of all, that's a quick assumption that a lot of black women are quick to make, that this thing is, and it goes back to the other one about black expectations versus white expectations. Like, white women and women of other nationalities are a little bit more willing to allow things to develop and have all the cards when it comes to dating. They're the choosers, right? As fucked up as it is, they're the choosers. So, as fucked up as it is that there has to be choosers, they're the ones who are designated as, we have all the power, we choose who the fuck we want to fuck. Black women like the one in this video who narrowed their playing field down to just black men are the kind who will fucking run through them fucking quickly. Because they're just checking motherfuckers off because they still have the old playbook. They still have the playbook of all women in general. They haven't turned of all women in general who have 3 point whatever billion men to just fucking run through, and who are coming to them, who they just have to sit back and just fuck next, who they can be picky up until a certain age, right? Black women like this take that same mentality to a much smaller field, so they run through it much quicker than they would if their fields were more open. They open themselves to dating outside their race. Not exclusively, but they open themselves up to being equal opportunity employers. You understand? So, said all that to say this. Oh, and the hoop earrings. Man, I gotta wrap this shit up. The fucking hoop earrings. Homegirl's hoop earrings were fucking screaming, oh, she's... Like, as soon as the video started, I'm like, she's a little ghetto. She's a little ghetto. Like, I know non-ghetto people are wearing the hoop earrings, ironically, sometimes, or at least they were a year or so ago. This chick ain't being ironic. This chick is legit kind of ghetto. She's legit kind of hood. Which isn't in and of itself necessarily bad, but I knew where the bouncing ball was going to go. Alright? So, that's interesting. my overall synopsis is date whoever the fuck you want to date. The fuck? Go out with and sleep with whoever the fuck you want to fuck. Doesn't matter. As long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as the person is of age, and you're not hurting anybody, who gives a shit what color they are in 2015? Why do you still give a fuck in 2015 what color somebody is? Why? That's so backwards. That's so goddamn backwards. And black people, and it's through every nationality. Every nationality has those people who will only date their race because ... And it's so like, why? What? And so like, that's, you're gonna narrow the field like that? Like, just because? Like, that's not even, and everybody narrows the field for, what a lot of people would call arbitrary reasons, but skin color is like, shit, that's really fucking arbitrary and kind of stupid at this particular point. Like, there's, what? Weren't we born in the same fucking generation? I was born in 85. All the shit I saw was talking about racial harmony and and even with my mom really wanting me to date black chicks, I was like, I'm not going to just date black. There was a black girlfriend in high school. It was fine. I wasn't going to only date black girls though. Date whatever girls fucking came to mind. You know what I mean? Like, and don't bring any home. And she was talking some real shit too, because I'd been in at some situations where I knew damn well that somebody was being cordial to somebody else, but wasn't necessarily being wasn't necessarily friends with them. You know what I mean? But was in the back of their heads thinking, this filling the nationality motherfucker here is trying to infiltrate this black, contaminate the black. Please, fucking please, date whoever the fuck you want to date. Ride whatever colored body part you want to ride or have ridden. Who gives a fuck about any of that? Except for this chick here, apparently. I feel like she's wrong. Let whatever colored man date whatever colored man or woman he wants to date. Like, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Is this what I took all those ass whoopings for? No, Martin, it wasn't. You took all those ass whoopings for something much better than, and much more forward thinking than this shit.
Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City, Suplex City, bitch.